The atmosphere was thick with tension in the nation of Lan Vin as an unexpected invasion erupted, calling forth 1,000,000 soldiers. While everyone eagerly volunteered to take up arms against the enemy, I chose a different path. I decided to remain behind, taking on the role of a logistics support, becoming a mere errand boy. My peers mocked me, branding me a coward, and even the commanders looked down on me. They could not comprehend my choice. Faced with their doubtful gazes, I felt no need to explain. I silently walked away, enduring their scorn and insults. Yet, what no one knew was that I had awakened 5 extraordinary skills, including the ability to tame beasts, a secret I kept hidden from all. Among my skills were elemental manipulation, combining fire and thunder, and the more I slayed, the stronger I became. My formation technique could accumulate infinitely. Lastly, I possessed the ability to summon a legion of spirits. If I could maximize these 5 skills, I would gain the power to crush the 1,000,000 evil beings advancing upon us. If I stepped onto the battlefield now, I would repeat the mistakes of my past, extinguishing my own potential too soon. It turned out that in 2690, when the demon entities invaded Earth, we initially fought back with conventional weapons. However, as more high-ranking demons appeared, ordinary humans found themselves overwhelmed. The Eastern Dragon Army alone suffered casualties in the millions. Yet over time, humanity awakened many powerful superhumans. Thanks to them, the advance of the countless tribes was significantly halted. At this moment, in the city of Bianzu, within the Eastern Alliance, an officer stood boldly on stage, delivering a stirring speech. Behind me lies the list of those who sacrificed their lives on the battlefield last month. They are our friends, families, and brothers, heroes of Bianzhou and of the divine world. The war against the tribes is about to begin. As a border city, Bianzhou has no way to retreat. Currently, the Eastern Alliance is mobilizing 1,000,000 superhumans for a counteroffensive against the tribes. What must future generations of Bianzhou do to protect our homeland and preserve our mountains and rivers? Instantly, the crowd erupted in unison, calling to join the army. We will annihilate the entire tribe, tearing them to shreds. The determination to enlist reached its peak. Yet, while everyone was fervently signing up, one young man proposed to stay behind for logistics. Upon hearing this, the officer was taken aback. He could hardly believe that, in such dire circumstances, someone would willingly choose to be deemed a coward. The students around him hurled insults, calling him useless. Logistics were typically filled with the old and infirm. At that moment, the officer quickly interjected. "The tribes are slaughtering our people. You are strong and accomplished, yet instead of serving your country, you choose to retreat at the moment of reckoning. Do you think you deserve the nation's support?" The young man, named Nan Ziying, held his head high and replied, "I'm sorry, Commander, but I have my own choices to make." The surrounding students joined in mockery, only to be interrupted by a middle-aged man beside them. The speaker was an old general who had lost an arm. "Young ones, I respect your choice. No one should be forced to join the military. It is a personal decision." He sighed deeply. "Such a pity for a talent like yours. Just take the form and leave." Amidst the jeers of the crowd, he slowly walked away. The next day, the soldiers began their march to the battlefield, shielded by tanks and aircraft. They carried with them the hope of victory and a burning passion in their hearts, determined to protect their homeland and preserve their sacred lands. Meanwhile, Nan Ziying could only stand quietly behind the crowd, sighing in despair. His refusal to enlist had turned him into a hot topic on social media. Yet, Nan Ziying did not argue against this. Yes, they were all heroes in their own right, but this battle would be like a butterfly flying into the flames, never to return. Humanity, with its millions of soldiers, still underestimated the power of the myriad of supernatural creatures. In his past life, driven by the ideals within, I had rushed to the front lines like they did, volunteering to enlist and joining the war command, becoming a formidable presence. While humanity continuously faced defeat, I risked my life to research and develop these 5 innate abilities, ultimately integrating them into my own body. But before I could fully upgrade all my abilities, humanity had already lost the battle. Even though I single-handedly eliminated all the supernatural creatures at the scene, the strongest of their kind eventually emerged. Despite possessing remarkable talents, I ultimately fell short. I couldn't accept it, if only I had upgraded my abilities sooner. I had the ability to protect all of humanity. Perhaps it was Nam Tudon's steadfastness that moved the heavens, granting him a second chance at life. Miraculously, he returned just before enlisting, and the talents he had forged with his very existence manifested alongside him. Beast taming skill could tame monstrous beasts. The elemental skill could converge water and fire. The slaughter skill grew stronger with each foe vanquished. The formation skill could create countless powerful formations. The soul summoning skill could call forth spirits from the earth to serve their master. Although mastering these 5 innate abilities required immense effort, it requires vast amounts of resources and time. But if I could enhance these 5 abilities to their limits, I could turn the tide and lead humanity to triumph against the invasion of myriad supernatural beings. However, if I were to enter the battlefield now, I would only be able to slay a few monsters, potentially squandering my abilities. I might even lose my life. The best place to gather resources is the testing grounds, where countless mutated beasts roam. Through experimentation, one could obtain abundant materials to enhance their abilities. At this moment, only the elderly and the sick remained in the logistics unit, tirelessly preparing weapons for the frontline warriors. Only a few elderly and sickly individuals remained, tirelessly preparing weapons for the frontline warriors. Among them stood a girl with a cane, letting out a soft sigh. If only I hadn't been injured. At that moment, Nam Tudong unexpectedly approached her, inquiring about her situation. I came here to train in the testing area and could help you deal with some mutated beasts. The girl immediately responded, "That sounds wonderful. I've been struggling to find someone to assist." She added, "I'll take you to change your clothes." But Mrs. Trung, standing nearby, looked on skeptically. "Why is there a young man here in the testing area?" Suddenly, she seemed to recall something and hurriedly searched for her phone in her bag. "Aren't you Nam Tu-Duan, the one who refused to join the front line and has been trending online?" Upon witnessing this, Mrs. Trung was taken aback. "You turned down the battle, yet you still come here to train." Perhaps the girl wanted to atone for her guilt of surviving in the logistics unit. She pulled out a specialized alloy knife designed for handling mutated beasts. "You need to be careful." "Thank you," I replied, noticing that it had been ages since I last used a knife like this. I then stepped into the testing area alone. The girl watched my retreating figure. "This boy may not talk much, but he's quite handsome." Mrs. Trung interjected, "Don't get carried away. No matter how handsome he is, he's just a coward. He's the one who refused to go to the front line." Ignoring the gossip behind me, I strode straight into the testing room. As I finalized my difficulty settings, an alarm blared around me. "The test has begun. Please prepare yourself." Suddenly, a swarm of monsters burst forth from the cages nearby, charging at me from all directions. But at that moment, I felt no fear. If fate granted me another chance at life, I would seize it with all my might. So let's start with taming these beasts. Ever since the dark beasts invaded the earth, things have changed. Fortunately, my experience from my past life equipped me well for these low-level monsters. Like the flock of stray birds, I understood them like the back of my hand. After dispatching a few stray birds, a glimmering golden bullet appeared before me. With this golden bullet, I could empower a mutated beast for taming. However, my current body was still too weak for prolonged combat. But if I could avoid their weak points with each strike, perhaps I could handle these monsters in a short time. I felt no hesitation. I swung the long sword in my hand. Although these were merely low-level beasts, dealing with a swarm was still a challenge. First, I would take care of those in the air. After 10 minutes of fierce fighting, I finally managed to increase my tamed beasts count to 5. Just as I predicted, the efficiency skyrocketed. But at that moment, a loud cry from a giant stray bird echoed nearby. I turned to see a massive stray bird looming over me. The leader of the wandering golden birds, this body indeed faces some difficulties. Therefore, I can only rely on my wits to navigate through. A direct confrontation is out of the question. I must strike at the weak points to take it down in one blow. As the sword slashes into the golden bird's body, a resonant sound echoes. Its material is far tougher than in my past life. If that's the case, let's give it another shot. At that moment, in the testing room, the two elderly women exchanged puzzled glances. Suddenly, Liu the Fat spoke up. "Is it lunchtime already? Why haven't you both gone yet?" Mrs. Truong signaled to Liu the Fat. "Mind your own business. I want to see how long that Nam kid can hold out in there. The other kids have already gone to the battlefield to fight, while this little brat is still here floundering. If he dares to run away, I'll capture him with one swift move." But Liu the Fat added, "Giving up that easily isn't any simpler than the battlefield." Just then, as they were discussing, an announcement blared through the loudspeaker. "End the experiment immediately, Null." At that moment, Mrs. Truong smiled wickedly. Surely he couldn't endure and must have fled. "Let's go over there and hold him back." But as they turned around, it was like they collided with something. Upon their return, Mrs. Truong was stunned, because the person they spoke of, Nam Tudon, who was once timid and fearful, now stood before them, battered and bruised, his clothes torn and tattered. Blood, whether from the beast's or his own, trickled down his face. How could he have emerged from such trials in this condition? "Have you truly passed the test?" Nam Tudon replied calmly. "Yes, I've made it through. I've dealt with all the monsters on the first floor. The remains are for you to handle. I need to head home for a quick bath." With that, he didn't even turn back, striding away. The three who entered the testing room were left speechless. Oh my, so many monster corpses. He really did pass the first floor test. Back home, Nam Tudon began to wash up, glancing at the attribute board of his innate beast mastery. He couldn't help but ponder. To upgrade to the third level, simply passing the first floor of the testing tower surely wouldn't suffice. The battlefield had already been breached by countless tribes up to the 8th level of the defense line. It wouldn't be long before they reached the Bien Chao. I have little time left to train. I must quickly maximize my innate talent level while the ants deal with the remains of the beasts. That kid truly puts in the effort. Didn't you say he was a coward? It's rare for anyone to pass this challenge. Mrs. Truong smirked, her eyes filled with disdain. He's only torturing himself to find excuses to rest at home. But before she could finish her sentence, the young man appeared before them again. "What are you back for, Sor? This place doesn't need you." "We have completed our work on the first floor," the man stated calmly. "I didn't come here to help you with the corpses. I'm here to continue the trial on the second floor." As soon as he finished speaking, Mrs. Truong exclaimed, "In such a serious condition, you still want to attempt the second floor trial. What are you pretending to do, little Liu? Just take it easy for now and save your strength. The second floor is crawling with massive mutated monsters. I appreciate your concern, but there's no need to worry." With that, I strode straight towards the challenge tower on the second floor. Miss Zhang stared in disbelief at the scene before her. With such talent, why not head to the battlefield instead of playing pretentious games here? Yet the man paid no heed to their criticisms, for he had to face the mutated monsters that boasted vastly superior strength compared to those on the first floor. Indeed, the pressure on the second floor was palpably overwhelming. Suddenly, a gigantic mutated bull charged straight at him, sending him flying. Even though he had used his momentum to cushion the impact, the sharp pain reminded him that this place was far from simple. At that moment, Mr. Niu blew a mocking breath in my face, as if to ridicule me for daring to challenge them alone. Instantly, the man's anger flared. Did they really think I was someone easy to bully? I had never engaged in battle without being sure of my victory. Spotting multiple mutated bulls charging towards him, he quickly drew out a weapon and took to the skies. In the blink of an eye, he pierced through the skull of one bull. Immediately after, he twisted his blade in the wound, and with a sickening splatter, the bull spewed out a mouthful of old blood. The mutated bull collapsed instantly. Witnessing this, the other bulls froze in fear. They could hardly believe that the human before them was so incredibly powerful. He extracted a gem from the bull's body. If these were all second-tier mutated monsters, taming them would be a piece of cake. Without hesitation, he activated his beast taming ability. A red light glimmered in his palm, causing the herd of mutated bulls to freeze in shock, as if struck by lightning. He stepped towards a trembling bull and taunted, "Looks like you're not so proud anymore. Now, all of you shall become my experience points." In just 3 short days, the entire challenge became a graveyard of monsters I had defeated. The higher-ups couldn't keep up. After days of relentless effort, my beast taming level skyrocketed to level 6. Within these 3 days, I had taken down over 10,000 mutated creatures. Indeed, the leveling speed in the challenge was much faster. However, the next step was to head outside for hunting. After all, outdoor mutated monsters couldn't be compared to the ones kept in cages. Even those with supernatural abilities wielding firearms couldn't guarantee their safety against these beasts. Yet, taming them was a crucial part of my strategy to deal with the monsters. It was time to set my plan in motion. At that moment, the manager asked me, "Do you wish to continue with the challenge?" To confront the zombies on the front lines, I would gladly work overtime every day. But the man replied that he would be heading home early today. That's enough for today. With that, he made his way to the exit. Miss Zhang could no longer contain herself, exclaiming, "See, I knew he wouldn't last long." But before she could finish her sentence, a man standing nearby jumped in. "Shut your mouth. Without him, we wouldn't have completed the mission so quickly. I think this young man is quite capable." However, the man remained unfazed by the criticisms around him, for he had far more pressing matters to attend to. At that moment, little Lou blushed as she approached. "Mr. Blue, you've been doing an amazing job lately. You've really worked hard." Upon hearing her voice, he turned around immediately. "Thank you for your recognition. It's simply my duty." "All right, Mr. Nam, I won't disturb you any longer." Meanwhile, the transport vehicles rolled into the city. These were all wounded soldiers being sent back from the front line, currently being rushed to the hospital in an orderly fashion. The man pondered, "Why are there so many injured?" It seemed the situation on the front line was far from optimistic. Suddenly, a woman pointed skyward. "Look. It's 2 missiles hurtling towards the front." Instantly, Miss Land felt a chill run down her spine. The battlefield seemed far more complicated than she had imagined. Otherwise, they wouldn't have requested artillery support from behind so early. The day when the front line completely collapsed was not far off. He needed to accelerate the enhancement of his abilities. At that moment, several transport vehicles came to a halt in the open air. Upon disembarking, they discovered the vehicle had broken down. A blonde girl suggested, "Why not just leave the vehicle here? There are plenty of mutated monsters around. We can come back for it tomorrow." But just then, a dark figure appeared in the distance. Before they could react, the shadow rushed past the convoy at lightning speed. The blonde girl felt suspicious. Who is that? Out at night, all alone, so she called out loudly from the window, "There's a mutated wolf ahead. It's very dangerous." Indeed, that figure was the man preparing to head outside. The short-haired girl beside her reminded, "This stash of medicine is meant for the wounded in the city. We should quickly get the medicine back." Although the blonde girl had no choice but to get the vehicle ready to leave, just then, a horrific scream resonated from outside. The victim was the driver outside the vehicle. "Don't worry about it." Hurry, behind them loomed a giant steel wolf, but it was too late to escape. At that moment, the convoy was surrounded by the steel wolf. The short-haired girl aimed a machine gun at the beast and opened fire. The battle quickly caught the man's attention. They were supposed to be the medical team for Leaf City. But just as he was about to turn back to assist, a pack of wolves appeared from behind. "Well, this works out. I can save my energy," he thought to himself. "I came to help, but you all just had to open the door for me." With the increasing concentration of spiritual energy, it was clear that this pack of wolves was much smarter. At the same time, the situation for the medical team was grim. Just a moment ago, a barrage of bullets could only temporarily halt the wolves' assault, but as the pack grew larger, girls in the vehicle had already prepared for the worst-case scenario. Yet, the blonde girl refused to give up. After all, the lives of the wounded were at stake inside the car. At this moment, the pack of wolves stood beside the man, and he relished the thrill of taking each one down. But just then, a gigantic wolf, radiating a fierce crimson aura, suddenly appeared. This must be the Wolf King. It seemed that the only way to protect the medical team was to slay it. Hence, the battle needed to be wrapped up swiftly. The Wolf King had also taken notice of his presence. It slowly approached the man. Seeing the pack of wolves growing in number around him, he didn't hesitate to activate his beast-taming ability. With a thunderous explosion, a massive tree formed from energy shot up in an instant, binding the mutated wolves tightly. All of this was in the Wolf King's sights. It immediately let out a howl, and with the support of the Wolf King, the pack began to break free from the bindings. One by one, the cunning wolves advanced towards him. Capture the king first, then deal with the rest. I had to take down the Wolf King first. Without delay, I used my control ability to elevate myself, leaping directly towards the Wolf King's head. If it wanted to dodge, it was already too late. Lam Tudon delivered a powerful punch straight to the Wolf King's head. As soon as he made contact with the skull, he activated his taming skill. In an instant, an invisible wave of energy enveloped the massive body of the Wolf King, and soon after, its eyes began to clear. The surrounding wolves also lowered their heads, their arrogance evaporating. Witnessing this, I immediately activated my taming ability. In the blink of an eye, all the mutated wolves were subdued. Meanwhile, the two girls in the vehicle braced themselves for a desperate fight. Just as the blonde girl stepped on the gas, ready to charge out, she discovered the engine wouldn't start. The short-haired girl exclaimed, "Damn it!" And just then, the wolves had surrounded them. There was a loud crash as the car windows shattered. Seeing they were on the verge of death, the eyes of the mutated wolves suddenly softened, even appearing rather cute. As the sisters stood there in shock, the pack suddenly withdrew. What was happening? Why did the wolves retreat all of a sudden? Oh my gosh, look. It seems there's a man. He single-handedly tamed thousands of wolves. This guy is incredibly powerful. At this moment, the man opened his attribute panel. If only in my past life I had managed to master my beast-taming ability sooner, I wouldn't have fallen so easily to a ruthless army like this. Now, having successfully tamed thousands of mutated wolves for the first time, it was a significant step forward. You all look so obedient. Today, well, disperse here when needed, I'll summon you. Remember that well. In the future, under no circumstances should you attack humans again. After dispersing the entire pack, it was time for me to prepare to delve deeper. After all, the invasion of the army was not something these mutated wolves could stop. I needed to quickly tame even more mutated monsters. Just as I was about to move forward, my phone suddenly buzzed with a message from the Tower Challenge. It turned out the challenge was calling me back for an emergency meeting. Had something happened? Apparently, a high-ranking official had just arrived. The moment the official stepped in, he shouted angrily, "You people at Night City have truly let me down. Just a few days ago, you surpassed your mission targets, and now you say you can't handle it." Seeing this, the person in charge quickly stepped up to explain, "It's not like that, sir. Most of us here are elderly or sick. We can manage a few common mutated monsters, but you want us to tackle those ranked level 4 and above. We have no experience in this field." The official Van Gon immediately flew into a rage. "If you can't even handle this, what can you say about protecting our country? Do you even know how brutal the battlefield is? Many soldiers on the front lines can barely get enough to eat. To ensure supplies for our troops, we must confront even stronger mutated monsters." Just as he finished speaking, the person in charge nearly collapsed. Wearing such a towering hat was no easy feat. He could hardly bear it. "I'll quickly send more personnel to work overtime." Unexpectedly, the official became even more aggressive. "Forget it. None of you at Night City are of any use. It's been half a day, and no one has come to greet me. Prepare to face the consequences." Little Lou couldn't help but retort, "Sir, the level of these high-ranking mutated monsters is nearly lethal. This task is completely beyond our capabilities." Van Gon looked at him with disdain. "Am I really making things difficult for you? Clearly, no one here at Night City takes responsibility. First to refuse conscription was a coward who fled from Night City." As soon as she said this, Mrs. Trung erupted in anger. "What right do you have to speak here? My husband and 3 sons sacrificed their lives at the front lines for our country. You call that irresponsibility? We, the elderly, work day and night, 24 hours, just to ensure timely supplies for the front lines. Why should your single word nullify all our efforts?" Van Gon smirked. "What a woman who quibbles endlessly." Seeing this, 2 high-ranking energy users were about to step forward to teach Mrs. Trung a lesson. How dare this woman disrespect an official? It was truly a death wish. But in the next moment, there was a loud bang, and the energy user who spoke was blasted away. Witnessing this scene, the official was taken aback. What was happening? Could it be that this small night city had hidden away such powerful energy users? The newcomer was a male soldier who quickly returned. There was no need to resort to violence against the elderly and the sick in a dispute like this. Witnessing this scene, Madame Lai beside him joyfully exclaimed, "Wonderful, Xiao Nan is back." The person in charge turned to look. "Isn't this the fugitive from the army mines? He doesn't seem as bad as rumored." With just one punch, he took down a 5th-level mutant. At this moment, the official changed his tone. "Who are you? Didn't they say that all young people are on the front lines?" Immediately, he raised his gun, seeming to threaten, "Do you in Night City intend to rebel?" At this moment, the soldier recognized him as Lam Hu Tai, who had survived the war in a past life. In the Wansu battlefield, he had been hunted and tried for 12 years. In his previous life, this guy always traded in essential supplies for the front lines. He must be aiming to capitalize on the speed of monster extermination in Night City, wanting to exploit the city to slay even more high-level mutated beasts. In trading in supplies, in this lifetime, he would never allow such parasites to emerge again. But for now, he needed to drain every resource at his disposal first. Thus, he quickly suppressed the anger rising within. There were no traitors here with intentions of rebellion. These individuals are certainly not the irresponsible workers you claim. Moreover, the elderly are in agreement. As officials, how can you point guns at us like this? We have sacrificed too much on the battlefield of Wansu. Is it still not enough? Upon hearing this, Lam Hu Tai's face immediately paled. He initially thought that Night City was filled only with the old, the sick, and the frail. Little did he expect to encounter a master on the road. This is not good. However, he soon realized that this young man looked somewhat familiar. This was the fugitive from the army. "You coward dare to hide here. Not only that, but you also have the audacity to strike a soldier. Even if I were to deal with you right here, no one would dare to utter a word. And beside me, a 5th-level mutant is ready to take action, yet the soldier merely smiles lightly. This is quite amusing. But those tens of thousands of mutated beasts within the challenge tower are beyond anyone's handling." As soon as he finished speaking, Lam Hu Tai was immediately taken aback. It turned out that all the beasts in the challenge tower were slain solely by him. No wonder the supply speed in Night City is so rapid. While Lam Hu Tai was in shock, the mutated creatures brought in by the others exuded an ominous aura. I believe that these special mutated creatures are certainly beyond the capability of other regions to handle. So, are you all planning to come to Night City to test your luck? I would love to take on this mission, but if you wish to kill me, then I'm afraid there's nothing I can do. Beside him, Lam Hu Tai expressed doubt. How could a fugitive be so familiar with mutated beasts? Observing the reactions around, it seems there's truth in his words. Perhaps it's best to comply with fate and let him take on this mission. The young man hopes that what he says is genuine. We shall establish a military command. Tomorrow, I will unleash 5,000 mutated monsters upon you. If you manage to handle them within a week, I will spare you. If you fail to complete it, not only will you face punishment, but Night City will as well. After saying that, they left. Xiaolu quickly approached Master Lan, saying, "The mutated monster isn't easy to handle. If necessary, we can assist you." Van Gogh gestured for them to be at ease. "You just need to do your jobs well," he said. His taming ability has now advanced to level 7, making him a powerful entity among level 4 monsters. With high defense and a strong ability to mentally disrupt, he can not only serve as a resource, but also as a valuable material. This guy, Lam Hu Tai, would do anything for money. But thanks to him, these monsters are the perfect specimens for him to enhance his heavenly slaughter ability. First, kill all the monsters under his control. Afterwards, once his ability is upgraded, he will completely eliminate these Lam Hu Tai people. Very soon, 50,000 level 4 mutated monsters were delivered. A corpulent officer began to read the military order aloud. The Night City military branch, post-Qin era, is given 1 week to complete the task of handling 5,000 level 4 monsters. If you fail to complete the task on time, the military supply official, Lam Hu Tai, has the right to deal with you. According to the regulations, you are suspected of participating in a riot at the Kang Min Dong construction site and are accused of denouncing an official. Once there is a delay, both offenses will be punishable. The Taoist does not need to report before executing on the spot. After saying this, he made a gesture like firing a gun. Hearing this, Xiao Liu looked puzzled, killing the corpulent officer with a look of disdain. Are you scared now? The military order was issued yesterday. Didn't the elder agree very quickly? But at that time, only I will have the authority to personally execute Lam Hu Tai, she said, then gently patted Lam Hu Tai on the shoulder. I believe you will quite enjoy that process. Lam Hu Tai then readily accepted the military order. Why talk so much? The strong bodyguard was about to take action, but was held back by Bach Bayo. He's just a dying man. There's no need to argue with him. Everyone put on masks and prepared to start dealing with these monsters. Anesthetic smoke needs to be released. Then, without hesitation, they stepped into the arena. At this moment, Bach Bayo also showed skepticism. He had used his psychic abilities to check this young man. He was definitely not a psychic. Even he himself cannot survive long among the level 4 monsters. Surely, he would go mad if he managed to get out. Let's just wait to deal with him. But to be fair, Lam Hu Tai is really stingy, worrying that I might trust a fugitive. It's really a waste of time. If he dies, all these things will ultimately still be mine. You know how to report to the boss, right, Twing? Rest assured, I will report everything that happens here honestly. Meanwhile, to the south, the military indeed faces level 4 mutated monsters. Although his body was paralyzed, his mental strength remained abundant. Not only that, he could also create illusory images. However, for the male soldier, all these things were useless. He immediately jumped into the air. To him, you are nothing but illusions. As long as you can't control your mental state, in his eyes, these illusions are unmovable entities. To elevate his power, the Heavenly Slayer needs more skills in killing, so it's up to you to showcase your true abilities, otherwise you won't have another chance. Suddenly, a sound echoed in his mind. He turned back, only to see countless strands of deadly intent coiling tightly around his feet. Is this the way he was? As the murderous aura intensified, a thought penetrated the mind of the young soldier. You're too tired, let everything go. Learn to live a little easier. Imagine the price you've paid. Think of the loved ones who have perished beside you. Is it worth it? All those parents. Von Tuch is so powerful. How will you take your revenge? The young soldier was certainly grasping the deadly aura surrounding him. Are you done talking? Once you finish, just be silent for a moment. After saying this, he pulled the murderous intent out of his head. The murderous aura of the myriad clans. Naturally, I will have my revenge. What will become of humanity's future? Only we, the humans, have the right to speak. At this moment, his powers began to grow from within, enveloping the young soldier. Once he unlocked the Heavenly Slayer technique and entered the Heavenly Slayer state, his physical and mental strength would multiply. And this murderous aura is the fastest path to enhance his abilities. All of you will become my strength. As the murderous aura surged wildly, the young soldier's eyes turned a fierce red. Countless strands of deadly intent surged into his eyes, making him unable to hold back a roar. Meanwhile, Lam Hu Tai was relishing beauty and fine wine. Resources are becoming increasingly scarce, not only beneath the divine, but also on the front lines of other nations. I must seize this opportunity to earn more, otherwise, all my efforts will be in vain. Those capable subordinates have such large appetites. I also have to be wary of those in the military who are conducting covert investigations. It's truly bothersome. After saying this, he downed the glass of wine in his hand. He pondered where he might find a stable solution to deal with the high-level mutated monsters when suddenly his phone rang beside him. Report, sir? In the City of Night, under military supervision, their missions have all been assigned. Hearing this, Van Nguyen Lum's expression darkened. Truly, I can't expect anything from these useless people. The leader has been dealt with, yet the subordinates report that they are nearly finished with their mission in just 4 days. Van Nguyen Lum was immediately taken aback. You say they are about to complete it already? Yes, sir. The mission of eliminating 5,000 level 4 aberrations has been confirmed and fully completed. All of it was undertaken by someone named Nam Tu Don. Upon hearing this, Lum Hu Tai, in a fit of anger, immediately hugged the girl beside him tightly. Very well. Keep a close watch on that one. It'll be there shortly. Bak Bao, too, couldn't help but feel bewildered. Did this guy really complete the mission ahead of schedule? At that moment, I had clearly checked that guy's abilities. He possessed no mental prowess at all. How did he manage to pull this off? Right now, Nam Tu Don's power level had risen to level 5, with both his body and mind enhanced. Though he hadn't yet reached level 6, he was fortunate enough to have gained his first innate skill Hell. Next, he needed to venture deep into the wilderness to tame higher-level creatures, accelerating his planning. At this point, Aunt Trung had changed her attitude, giving Nam Tu Don a thumbs up. You truly have brought glory to us. Otherwise, our night city would have fallen prey to a bunch of frauds. Clearly, they couldn't measure up yet. They wanted to use us, acting all high and mighty as if they were the best. Perhaps soon, some people would be dissatisfied. Leveling up the Hell skill would also enhance the ability to sense mental energy. It turns out Bak Bao is a psychic ability user of the mental system. Hearing the insults, Bak Bao fumed. These little cats and dogs dare to insult me. I must retaliate against this one. Just as he was about to strike, he was stopped by the bodyguard beside him. Don't break the boss rules, you know his methods well. We must wait for the boss to arrive before taking action. Besides, there are still remnants of the mental power of Num all around. If you act recklessly, they will intervene. But at this moment, Bak Bao could no longer contain himself, disregarding the warnings. I will report this to the boss myself. With that, he began to concentrate his mental energy, charging straight at the man. But the man had already sensed Bak Bao's intentions. Too bad, today you've picked the wrong person to mess with. This is a perfect opportunity to test my level 5 powers. At this moment, Bak Bao's face was filled with intensity. He had clearly infiltrated the man's mental system, yet for some reason, the effect was strange. Infiltrating a mental system should have revealed the opponent's spiritual entity. Why do I only see a pitch-black void? Instantly, Bak Bao seemed to realize something was off. He turned to look behind him. How could this be? Before his eyes appeared a spiritual entity formed from killing intent. Just what level of psychic ability are you? I checked thoroughly. How could you develop so rapidly in such a short time? At that moment, Bak Bao's eyes were filled with horror. Tell me, who exactly are you? But immediately, his chubby legs were bound tightly by the killing intent. Who I am is not important. Don't you want to explore my spiritual world? Then let me show you to your heart's content. With that, countless waves of killing intent surged straight into Bak Bao's mind. With this amount of killing intent, he certainly wouldn't be able to withstand it. He screamed, "Please spare me," but in reality, Bak Bao spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Everyone in the room immediately panicked. It was clear that his mind had gone out of control. This is all mine. None of you are allowed to share. Lum Hu Tai, you're nothing but a fool who doesn't understand life and death. I can handle all this on my own. Not only do you distrust me, but you also send others to spy on me. Even your two aunties look confused. Is the pressure of leadership really that unbearable? You can't even handle a few harsh words. Meanwhile, the bodyguard nearby thinks that he's been affected by residual psychic energy. He must be going insane. If this continues, it'll ruin the boss' plans. With that, he delivers a powerful punch to the boy's head. Everyone in the room is bewildered. What on earth is he doing? Yet the bodyguard insists that the boy is being influenced by the spiritual forces of the supernatural, posing a danger to everyone. The only option left is to deal with it right here and now. At this moment, the bodyguard approaches the man. It seems this guy has also been affected. Bak Bao, you foolish idiot, you've brought this upon yourself. Dragging this guy down with you. After this, he won't be able to fight anymore. Should we report this first? He turns back, reminding the others to keep working. But just then, the man suddenly reveals a strange smile. My current level is at 6. I opened my eyes, and it was already the next day. Tionam, you've finally awakened. This time, thank you, I'm perfectly fine. Everyone, hurry back to work. Did Lum Hu Tai send a high-level aberration again? Aunt Trung mentions that half of our team has been reassigned to assist elsewhere. Meanwhile, the supply mission at the front line has doubled. The defense line number 9 has completely collapsed. The situation is dire and brutal. Whether it's the Army or the Air Force, our forces are no match for the myriad aberrations. The level 7 ability user, Lufa's son, has lost an arm. Now he's barely hanging on to life. The level 6 ability user, the Giant Flame, has bravely sacrificed himself for the country. Even Nam Tu Doing couldn't have anticipated that this collapse would come much sooner than in his past life. The death of Bak Bao has already been deemed by higher-ups as a result of spiritual interference from a supernatural entity. It has nothing to do with us in Dip City. Next, there's something even more important I need to inform you. Hearing this, Nam Tu Dun looks puzzled at Aunt Trung. Tiu Lu, come here and tell Brother Nam that we unanimously vote for you to be our commander in the battlefield of the City of Night. This is a decree issued by the higher-ups. Upon hearing this, Nam Tu Dun appears stunned. Aunt Trung, don't push the responsibility away, Awar. This is the recognition of everyone towards you. From now on, you ought to be addressed as the station chief. Let's all work together diligently. However, due to the increased mission from higher-ups, the workload has doubled and the number of workers has been halved. Even if everyone goes without food and water, after a month of standing like this, how many will survive? Chief, Nam Tu Dun realized that this task could only depend on himself. The pure beast ability and the hell ability were rated level 7 and level 6 respectively. If used wisely, the efficiency could double. The others just needed to do their jobs well. Securing this station chief position would also give Lao Hu Tai more room to maneuver. Lu immediately ran to report to the higher-ups, but was halted by Nam Tu Dun. I've thought of a plan, he said as he slowly got off the bed. I know everyone is worried about my health, but trust me, I will definitely complete the mission. But just then, a shadow darted past from outside the door. This speed was definitely not that of a worker at the station. He rushed outside, certain that it was in this direction. Yet, despite searching high and low, he couldn't find the mysterious figure. In that very moment, a black gun barrel was aimed at the back of his head. Turning around, he found a girl with an incredibly alluring figure. The mysterious girl slowly spoke. I ask a question, you answer. How many exotic beasts are in the next order from Lum Hu Tai that you received? Did they send it, or did you take it? Yet Nam Tu Dun remained calm. You should ask Lum Hu Tai that question. The mysterious girl appeared surprised. Aren't you supposed to be a team? Please answer my questions seriously. At that moment, as she spoke, Nam Tu Dun abruptly activated his hell ability, instantly knocking the weapon-wielding girl away. But she was not an easy opponent. Suddenly, out of nowhere, she produced a gun aimed at Nam Tu Dun and pulled the trigger. However, the bullet was devoured by Nam Tu Dun's hell ability. Who told you I was Lum Hu Tai's accomplice? I must have mistaken you. The girl asked while retreating. If not, then why are you helping him? Nam Tu Dun explained. I'm not helping him. This is merely a mission he assigned to us in the City of Night. Whether he's a bug or a failure in your eyes, he is still our direct superior. The girl was shocked. She never expected Nam Tu Dun to be so well aware of Lum Hu Tai's wicked deeds. Thus, the girl proposed, if that's the case, why don't we collaborate to eliminate Lum Hu Tai? I am Trung Yin from the 8th Defense Line, Intelligence Group, Supply Division. After saying that, she slowly extended her hand towards Nam Tu Dun. Pleased to meet you. At that moment, Nam Tu Dun gently declined. I refuse. Although the Long Kingdom is pulling back 1,000,000 troops, I chose to stay behind and be a foot soldier. Everyone mocks me as a coward. Even my ex-girlfriend wanted to kill me back then. I was so blind to have liked someone like you. But no one knew that the reason he chose this path was simply to quickly eradicate the exotic beasts and enhance his own abilities. Alone, one could make millions of clans remember their name. As soon as he turned away from the gaze of Zhang Yan, doubt clouded his mind. So does that mean you've chosen to focus solely on slaughter? But this was immediately dismissed by Nam Tzu Ji. The fate of Lam Hu Tai is already sealed. Whether now or later, acting alone or collaborating with you is out of the question, because you have no idea the consequences that come with eliminating him. Zhang Yan pondered for a moment, still unable to grasp what Nam Tzu-ji wanted to convey. Thus, Nam Tzu-ji slowly elaborated. If you want to eliminate Lam Hu Tai, you have two options. One is assassination, the other is internal exposure. If you choose assassination, your enemy is numerous. Are you planning to kill them all? Not to mention if you even have the capability, but you haven't thought it through properly. Zhang Yan, who are you? Can you bear the consequences of failure? As for internal exposure, gathering evidence will take a long time. Currently, the human side is at a disadvantage in the war. If the information leaks out, it won't just be about corruption, it will also be seen as internal rebellion. Once unnecessary chain reactions occur, it will ultimately lead to a chaotic morale among the troops behind. Everyone will only be able to look out for themselves. The warriors on the front lines hardly have the mindset to fight against the beast horde. After hearing the analysis from the man, Zhang Yuan finally understood the complex relationship at play. So, what should we do then? There's nothing difficult about it. Just leave Lam Hu Tai to me. Upon hearing this, Zhang Yuan looked at the man suspiciously. Did I hear you right? You mean you want to handle Lam Hu Tai yourself? Don't dream. Even I can't take him down. Relying on someone who doesn't dare to step onto the battlefield like you to solve this problem. To dispel Zhang Yuan's doubts, Lam Tzu Yuan had to unleash the aura of a demon. Haven't we already run out of things to discuss? Why not try sparring a few moves? Zhang Yuan could clearly feel the terrifying power radiating from him. In an instant, the aura this man displayed was twice as powerful as before. Thinking about the information regarding him, he would rather be mocked by others than stay behind to deal with the beast corpses. Day and night, he relentlessly hunted these beasts. The reason for this choice might be that he wanted to continuously enhance his own strength through killing beasts. Thinking this way, everything began to make sense. This was the persistence of a man he had said what needed to be said, and what shouldn't be asked should remain unasked. I believe you are an intelligent person. Everyone has their own secrets, right? As for Lam Hu Tai, leave that to me. Upon hearing this, Zhang Yuan had nothing more to say. Then I will reluctantly agree. At this moment, the man proposed a request. After dealing with Lam Hu Tai, I will need your help. I cannot make any additional demands. Hearing this, Zhang Yuan grew even more suspicious. How many mutated beasts do you need? Even with your current strength, you are already a formidable powerhouse. Could it be that you hide behind humanity but are not beneficial to them? Rest assured, even if I die, I remain a part of humanity and I will completely drive away all races. It's just that currently, my strength is not yet strong enough. Everything that needed to be said has been said. Beauty watched the man's retreating figure and thought to herself, he truly is an unpredictable person. For now, I will trust him. 3 days later, a large number of mutated beasts were delivered, and their rank had been upgraded from level 4 to level 5. Mrs. Truong was extremely displeased with this, but the man went to reassure everyone, don't worry, this mission is definitely achievable. Hearing this confident response, Lam Hu Tai laughed like a pig. Really, the appearance of this leader is not suitable at all. This man is not only more capable than Bak Bao, but also a selfless worker who is not greedy. Moreover, the stubborn ones have recently been very obedient. Additionally, the situation at the front lines is not favorable, and the value of Kim Dan has increased several thousand times. This really is a heaven-sent profit opportunity. Then, he patted the man on the shoulder. Feel free to ask for whatever you need. If you do well, I, Lam Hu Tai, will certainly not treat you poorly. However, the man didn't say anything, but quickly assigned tasks to everyone. Each person was responsible for their own work. This batch of beasts was sent to the experimental tower, while the batch of level 5 mutated beasts would be sent out for the second time. Everyone must absolutely not make any mistakes. Lam Hu Tai couldn't help but praise the work atmosphere at Yet City, which really put people at ease. Leader Botch, I won't bother you anymore, he said. Suddenly, the man smiled. Lam Hu Tai, the things you've been hoarding are exactly what I need to upgrade my demonic talent. Then he directly pulled out the demon alloy blade and activated his skill. Instantly, a tremendous burst of energy erupted. Together with the blade, the demonic aura intensified, and the hordes of beasts quickly became corpses under his hands. Just moments later, the demonic level reached level 6. With the blade in hand, continually slashing, the demonic level rapidly increased. Meanwhile, on the front lines on March 20th, the Eagle Nation fought fiercely for 4 hours, with 800,000 people sacrificing and 5,000 trillion power users facing a collapse of the battle line. Meanwhile, the man's demonic level continued to rise steadily. The demonic Avenger alloy blade exploded, devastating City on March 22nd when the ice defense ring shattered, with 600,000 frontline soldiers sacrificing their lives. The demonic dragon alloy blade, known for slaying dragons, wreaked havoc on March 24th when the southern ice was attacked by the assassin tribe within 1 hour. 500,000 troops were sacrificed. The demonic assassin alloy blade continued its deadly toll. On March 26th, the Shuyan-K defense line completely fell within half an hour, with 800,000 soldiers annihilated. At this moment, the man's demonic skill reached its maximum level. He let out a roar, filled with a murderous demonic aura. Immediately, a devastating red and white energy shot straight into the sky. The shape of the demon had reached its maximum transformation. A crimson aura of killing intent surged from his body, while the red and black miasma flowed violently into him. Meanwhile, the level 5 beasts were baring their fangs and claws, ready to charge. Then let me test you first. With that, he slowly raised his blade. Instantly, the red and black energy on the edge of the sword erupted. With a single downward swing, a massive wave of beasts was cleaved in two, leaving behind a horrifying scene of dismembered corpses. The ground was carved into a deep pit stretching 100 meters wide. So this is the true power of the maximum demon. Compared to the previous level, his strength had grown exponentially. As soon as he exerted all his might, his body reverted back to its original state. With such terrifying power at his disposal, he was ready to elevate his beast-taming skills even further. Currently, the 8th defensive line was held only by the Eastern Mongolian United States and Mao Nation, who were still desperately holding their ground. They even lowered the draft age to just 16. The situation on the battlefield was clearly dire for humanity. If this continued, no matter how powerful the demon talent, it would only amount to the strength of one man. A plan needed to be executed swiftly. At that moment, Lam Hutai stepped forward, satisfaction radiating from him. Looks like Chief Lam's performance has improved. He said, "If there's anything I can help with, just let me know." His voice lingered, stretching out as he added 3 words, "I want that." Beside him, the bodyguard broke into a cold sweat. Lam Hutai encouraged, "Just say it outright, it's fine." The man smiled lightly. "I want you to bring back a pack of steel wolves tonight." Upon hearing this, Lam Hutai immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Chief Lam sure knows how to stretch things out. His boldness and taste were to my liking. "So, please, Mr. Lin," Lam Hutai said, "rest assured." But in his heart, he thought, "If you dare to deceive me, I can easily end your life." Meanwhile, the man was also planning to eliminate Lam Hutai. If he remembered correctly, when the high-level human superpowers awaken, Von Tuck would also quickly carry out corresponding assassination actions. Next, he had to act discreetly. Then, he ordered the young wolves to hide all the wolves around. Looking into the distance, the desolate land was filled with glowing red wolf eyes. His beast-taming skill had also reached level 7. Thus, the requirements for leveling up had skyrocketed to an astronomical figure. Simultaneously, 10 kilometers away from the city, 3 military vehicles were racing deep into the wasteland. In the lead vehicle was Lam Hutai, venturing out to capture wolves. At that moment, the driver reported there are approximately 1,000 mutated wolves ahead. Lam Hutai immediately ordered the driver to charge straight in, intending to breach into a safe zone and return early to attend to other matters. Not long after, Lam Hutai sensed something unusual outside. The driver, Vun Singh, peered out the window and was taken aback by the sight before him. A cold sweat broke out instantly. "This is bad, sir. We are surrounded by a pack of steel wolves." At that moment, Lam Hutai's face was pale with fear as he immediately commanded his subordinates to open the teleportation gate to escape to safety. But the driver replied, "The distance to the teleportation point is too far, we can't teleport. Now, our only option is to hit the gas and charge forward, piercing through the pack ahead, there might still be a glimmer of hope. So, hurry up. But they were unaware that these steel wolves were not just ordinary beasts, they were part of a truly magnificent night. A hunt for wolves, an extermination of pests, all in one go. It was high time for Lam Hu Tai to deal with this parasite. To quickly formulate a plan against the myriad of races, he had recklessly ventured into the lair of the level 7 mutated wolves, the Lichao Gorge. Little did he expect that upon entry he would fail to tame them. Therefore, he had no choice but to fight first to subdue them before attempting to tame them. However, the first task was to conquer the one behind it all. The figure of Wang Kabao was indeed somewhat exaggerated, with a power level of at least level 9, perhaps even higher. Just one normal punch sent him crashing to the ground. Reluctantly, he had to enter his most powerful combat state. Demon among humans also caught the attention of the Power Investigation Bureau. The target is the Lichao Stream in the southwest of Yet City. He quickly prepared to pursue. Instantly, a red magical circle appeared under his feet. Along with his loud shout, red energy radiated from the ground forward, and the pack of wolves immediately stopped attacking the military vehicle. Lam Hu Tai also noticed this scene and thought to himself that there might be a tamer ahead. He still thought this might be a savior. He was instantly filled with excitement to the point of tears. Yet he had never heard of a powerful tamer residing in Yet City. Perhaps it was a famous character from films. If they knew each other, maybe they could help him. But just then, the man suddenly commanded the pack of wolves. He raised his hand and shouted, "Tear them apart. Leave not a single vehicle intact." In an instant, the pack surrounded the convoy once more. Realizing the dire situation, Lam Hu Tai immediately ordered, "Quickly use firepower to suppress them." But the wolves were too numerous, and soon many soldiers fell to gunfire as the wolves swiftly ravaged the vehicles. Upon witnessing this scene, the bodyguard shouted, "Sir, it's dangerous." Meanwhile, Lam Hu Tai was still lost in thoughts of being taken to safety, but in the next second, a steel wolf lunged forward. The bodyguard immediately shielded Lam Hu Tai, watching as the wolves charged at him. After all, the bodyguard was a level 5 ability user. Today, these beasts will taste my fury. He quickly repelled the first wave of the wolf attack. But then came another tide of darkness crashing down. The bodyguard realized that continuing like this wouldn't work. After all, the number of magical beasts within was limited. At this moment, the location is nearing the transition point of the ancient city wall. But in the very next moment, a shadow appears behind Lam Hu Tai. Seeing this, the bodyguard immediately asks, "Who are you?" As the mask is removed, it turns out to be Lam Hu Tai himself. Lam Hu Tai, astonished, exclaims, "You are the one who tamed that creature earlier. Why do you want to kill me?" My team replies, "Indeed, I want to kill you." Even on the brink of death, Lam Hu Tai remains defiant, saying, "If you dare to touch me, I assure you that you and your family will meet a most tragic end." Lam Hu Tai insists, "I believe you can do it." Unfortunately, you won't have that chance. A hand lunges for Lam Hu Tai's neck. In that moment, Lam Hu Tai can only look towards the bodyguard beside him. The bodyguard signals him not to be afraid, promising, "I will take you to safety immediately to avoid any long, torturous nights." Instantly, the group of men enters a state of divine slaughter, concentrating the essence of killing intent to protect themselves from all lower-level threats. In an instant, a horrifying wave of energy erupts from the man's body. In the blink of an eye, all mental abilities are severed. The bodyguard realizes that no matter how hard he tries, he cannot activate the teleportation gate. Could you be a high-level psychic? But right after that thought, he rejects it. Impossible. This cannot be. But just as those words leave his mouth, he receives a merciless punch in return. Blood erupts from the bodyguard's head like a fountain. He is dead and cannot return. At this moment, Lam Hu Tai still desperately pleads for mercy, but the man coldly replies, "Sorry." Lam Hu Tai dies without ever understanding. Why must a deserter like you insist on killing him? But the man, disinterested, has no desire to elaborate. After a gruesome and bloody scene, Lam Hu Tai is torn to pieces by a pack of wolves. Farewell, Lam Hu Tai. At the same time, at the Bureau of Psychic Investigation and Assessment, a powerful psychic aura re-emerges in City Y. The woman is a level 5 psychic, Tu Dong. It seems that what she sensed a few days ago was no illusion. City Y is likely to witness the emergence of a powerful psychic, and she must quickly report this to her superiors. Simultaneously, among the men, the little wolves continue to nuzzle beside them. They incessantly lick the blood of Lam Hutai. Lam Hutai gestures for them to behave, saying, "This time, you all did very well, and as a special reward, it'll give you a gentle pat on the head. Don't worry about the rest, everyone will get their share. Next, I will assign you a new mission. Help me gather at the North Desert." As soon as he finishes speaking, the pack of wolves howls in unison under the moonlight, as if they were a disciplined army. He then returns to the slaughterhouse in City Y. Truongwen also receives the news that Lam Hutai has been completely eliminated in the North Desert. "So, is this your doing?" Hearing this, Lam Hutai takes a bite of a bun and says, "Well, I did tell him I wanted a few mutated ones." Truongwen, hands on hips, questions him, "Do you have the ability to control this?" Lam Hutai signaled for him to be quiet. True to the saying, heaven's secrets must not be revealed. This made Truongwen stunned, but he reluctantly raised his hand and said, "I have submitted evidence of Lam Hutai's embezzlement, believing that his assets will also soon be seized." In response to this, Lam Hutai casually remarked, "That's great." Truongwen said, "Regardless, I must thank you this time and offer to buy you a drink tonight." However, Lam Hutai, showing no courtesy, replied, "Just one drink then, as I'm not really in the mood during this national crisis." But then he suddenly stopped, turned back with an intriguing tone and said, "If you really want to thank me, perhaps there could be another way. It's not impossible." Hearing this, the smile on Truongwen's face instantly turned bright red. For example, but Lam Hutai's next response made him very embarrassed. It turns out that Lam Hutai wants to make this place the largest slaughterhouse in Y City, receiving 10 to 100 times more mutated livestock than other slaughterhouses. With a continuous supply from these mutated livestock, Lam Hutai will be able to easily obtain raw stones. Moreover, with the prey that Giant Steel captures, it's only a matter of time before plans to summon millions are enacted. The rise or fall of the world is everyone's responsibility. Today, I, Lam Hutai, will ask you all to hold firm and protect Lanheng together. Very soon, next to Bak Huang, there will be 500,000 level 5 Giant Steel. Next, he arrived at the dwelling of the Great Ox in Bak Kat Yuan. With a wave of his hand, a burst of blazing red energy erupted from his palm, and then this energy enveloped the entire Great Ox. With a loud shout, the Great Ox was immediately subdued on the spot and arranged by Lam Hutai to hold this place and also help him gather raw stones. He was instructed not to injure people or attack cities, just to wait for orders. Before long, he had subdued a total of 500,000 great oxen. After that, he went to Lecho Ravine to subdue 1 million raw stones. Next, he will subdue a batch of level 7 Baoyuan. Indeed, the aura of these level 7 beasts is a real step up from the packs of wolves and the great oxen previously subdued. With incredible speed and overwhelming power, but for Lam Hutai at present, this is just a minor issue. He flicked his left hand and shouted loudly immediately afterward. He delivered a punch down onto the head of the Bao Yuan. Fortunately, it was still within the limits of being subduable. But immediately after, a swarm of Bao Yuan surrounded him, accompanied by fierce roaring. Before Lam Hutai could react, the Bao Yuan he had previously subdued attacked him from behind. Lam Hutai thought to himself, "It seems the subjugation has failed. In that case, subdue them by force first, then tame them." After saying that, he immediately entered the God of Slaughter state. Instantly, the body of the Bao Yuan was crushed, debris flying everywhere amidst a cloud of dust. At the same time, Lam Hutai pushed his taming skill to the maximum level. With another roar, the Bao Yuan that had just been knocked down by him growled and charged at him again. At this moment, Lam Hutai realized that the reason for the failure in subduing them was likely due to this roar. However, wiping out such a large number of level 7 Bao Yuan would be truly a great loss. He needed to take care of the bosses behind them first, so he swung his blade and slashed one of the Bao Yuan. But immediately, another Bao Yuan charged toward Lam Hutai. Unfortunately, in his eyes, these Bao Yuan were too foolish. Very quickly, he cleared out a few Bao Yuan, and using the others as leverage, he leapt into the air. In just a flash, he landed in the middle of a canyon. "Come out, leader. It's time for a change of power." But then, Lam Hutai looked up and saw the creature. The monster here was truly massive, beyond imagination. If not for the power of the god of slaughter, this monster would have killed him instantly. It seemed that this king was at least level 9, possibly even higher, and its attack speed was astonishing. It even opened its mouth, ready to swallow Lam Hutai whole. But Lam Hutai was not someone who could be easily bullied. He immediately struck down with a god of slaughter slash. The king was in so much pain that it couldn't close its mouth. Then it tried to crush Lam Hutai's head, but couldn't reach him. Next, a punch from above came crashing down. In a moment of carelessness, Lam Hutai was forcefully slammed into the ground by the king. Lam Hutai realized that he needed to take this seriously, or else this creature would treat him like an easy target. So he immediately shifted into the hell god of slaughter state. Instantly, a terrifying wave of energy surged out, and the sword emitted a menacing growl. Red energy spiraled around his body, continuously swirling with immense power. Meanwhile, at the Bureau of Supernatural Investigation and Assessment, "Hey sis, just how accurate is your feeling? It's already past 3 a.m., and there's still no sign of anything. If this keeps up, it's not looking good." But Tadung firmly insisted that she couldn't be wrong about such an intense killing aura. "In the countryside, let's stay in Y City for a few more days. Be a little patient. Honestly, we're the same age. Who are you calling sis anyway? Just because you're not growing well, you can't pretend to be a child." But the girl with purple hair innocently shrugged. "Looking at those buns on your chest, it's already polite enough that I haven't called you aunt, okay?" But suddenly, a red cloud appeared in the sky. Seeing this, Tolan immediately signaled for him to be quiet. "We have a target. Lachau Ravine, southwest of Y City. Quickly, get ready to pursue." Tolan immediately sprang into action. Pursuit ignites rage, the infinite heavens give birth to all things, and Quan Han, to do reverse time, opened the celestial eye and pursued the powerful supernatural being. What I saw was nothing but his death, because what he saw wasn't human. "I am a demon from hell." Returning to Lam Hutai, he questioned if you were willing to surrender. At that moment, he had beaten Vuong Nguyen to a bloody pulp, gasping for breath. "If you refuse to yield, then rise and continue the fight. But I can't promise to go easy on you next time." Upon hearing this, Vuong Nguyen struggled to get back on his feet. "Hey, you still have some spirit left, huh? Dying in a battle like this would be such a waste. Instead, why not join me as a comrade to fight against all that threatens our kind?" As he spoke, the light in Nguyen's eyes suddenly brightened. He stepped closer to the man, pondering whether he truly wanted to continue the fight. But just as his fist approached the man, he abruptly halted. Seeing this, the man clenched his hand tightly. "Well done, Nguyen Thu." With that, he immediately returned to his normal state, while Nguyen knelt before him. The man slowly uttered, 1,000,000 Bao Nguyen, heed my command. From now on, under the leadership of Bao Nguyen Wang, establish a base in Liat Shuyan County to gather Yuan history. Remember, do not harm the innocent, do not breach the fortress, and always be prepared to respond. At this point, the man's beast training had reached level 8, commanding a formidable army ranging from 200,000 to 500,000 troops. Meanwhile, at the Supernatural Ability Investigation Bureau, Su Lang and his teammates were still discussing the events of the previous night. Su Lang clearly sensed two distinct sources of powerful energy. Unfortunately, the recovery ability of Trio Kanyu could only be activated once every 24 hours. Moreover, the recovery time lasted a mere 3 seconds. Still, Su Lang remained confident that these two different energies belonged to artist Trio Kanyu, expressing skepticism that this could be true, given how long they had been investigating. The abilities that once secured a spot in the top 10 of the Eastern Alliance have always left room for mysterious clans, failing to make their mark. Yet, the moment the Demon King emerged, he swiftly claimed his place among the elite. This is indeed a terrifying singular power. No need for hesitation. Let's announce the rankings as soon as possible. Indeed, the powers of the Demon King had temporarily secured the 10th position. When this ranking was announced, the entire nation buzzed with excitement. In Liat Shuyan County, a mysterious figure clad in black appeared. his destructive power swiftly making its way into the top 10 of the Eastern Alliance, as comments flooded the discussion threads. Previously, it was only rumored that in the West there were abilities resembling the Demon King, but now, to everyone's surprise, the Great East has its own. Some insisted on comparing this mysterious figure to the man, despite his frantic efforts to avoid becoming a deserter. Little did he know, the mysterious figure occupying the 10th spot was none other than himself. At this moment, the man returned to the slaughterhouse, witnessing the 8th line of defense of the Americans continuously faltering. His heart swelled with pride. The Eastern Alliance had mobilized the plan to call back the veterans. This turn of events not only accelerated the pace of defeat, but also hastened the recall of the veterans significantly. Just then, he received a message from his father. "Hey kid, if you have time tonight, come home for dinner. Your mom and I miss you so much." It turned out that his father was a talented chef, preparing a feast for the children who were about to return. Simultaneously, he also indicated to the reporter that she could stay a little longer. It turned out that the male counterpart was a war veteran, while the reporter simply wanted to ask a few questions. Just then, the male counterpart had finished his work and nodded, allowing her to inquire about anything. "Hello, Mr. Nam Hung-san. I hear you received a notification to call back the veterans and immediately registered. What were your thoughts at that time?" The male counterpart replied solemnly, "It is my duty I cannot refuse." However, Fuang Lin then brought up his son. "What do you think about your son refusing to enlist mines for?" As soon as he heard this, the male counterpart fell silent. At that moment, Nam Mao entered with the children, witnessing this awkward scene. The male counterpart gestured for them to come to the table, assuring them he would answer a few questions before joining them. He turned to Fuang Lin and said, "You see, my family has barely gathered once in months. My wife is a volunteer at the factory. My daughter is a paramedic with supernatural abilities. Although my son hasn't been to the battlefield, he has been tirelessly working at the slaughterhouse to support the front lines. In my heart, he is a good child. Whatever he chooses to do, I support his decision." Just then, Fuang Ling suddenly looked at the man and asked, "I heard many of your classmates have sacrificed themselves on the battlefield. What can you say about this?" Before the sentence could finish, the male counterpart interrupted, his face filled with anger. "Enough. Don't push him anymore. When I registered as a soldier, I was supposed to be assigned to the 6th unit, but now I voluntarily ask to join the 7th. Can you keep quiet? My son has never been to war, but battling the monsters is just as dangerous. The supplies we receive from the city, especially during winter nights, are crucial. Shouldn't that be considered an achievement? Focusing solely on staying behind means nothing." At this point, the man stood up. "If necessary, I can register as a medical volunteer at the 7th line." Nam Mao could no longer hold back and declared, "If he can't go, I will take his place." Immediately, the entire scene fell into silence. At that moment, both the photographer and Fuang Lin were stunned by the family's fervor. "Sorry for the disturbance. We'll take our leave." At this, the male counterpart slammed his fist on the table after a struggle. He finally made a decision. "Dad, I will go with you.